In this video, I'm going to show you the 10 crops that I'm planting right now and why this month is so critical for your garden. Some of these crops are best started from seeds and others from healthy nurse starters, but knowing which is which can save you time, money, and frustration. Now, you may even want to come back and rewatch this video after you pick up your plants and seeds, and it's packed with a lot of tips and information that will help you make the most of every square foot. With that in mind, let's dive into the 10 crops that thrive when planted in May. Check out our new Suburban Preppers Homestead course by clicking the link below. This course walks you through setting up your own self-sufficient setup in your backyard to help you produce food, harvest water, and gain energy independence. This week, we're going to be offering a discounted price, so be sure to check it out. Tomatoes. Tomatoes are the rock stars of summer gardens. In zone 6A through 7, wait until you're 100% clear of frost. In warmer zones, you're good to go. Now, they love warmth and won't even start setting fruit until nights stay above 55 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to look for starter plants unless you're in zones 10 plus, where direct seeding cherry types is doable. Now, don't necessarily buy plants from your local nursery that already have flowers or fruit set on them. They may lose those in the shock of replanting in your garden or container, or from less stable temperatures in their new location. You want to choose indeterminate varieties for continual harvest, or determinate ones for a quick single flush. You want to choose determinate varieties if you want more contained plants, and understand that an indeterminate variety will require more pruning and support. You also need to understand how to prune your particular plant. For tomatoes, you want to remove lower leaves to improve air circulation and reduce the risk of soil-borne disease. You want to cut back unruly offshoot branches to direct energy toward fruit production. You want to trim suckers, the small shoots that emerge between the main stem and a branch, to prevent excessive foliage and encourage stronger, more productive growth. Now, while some schools of thought encourage excessive pruning, I have, in all my years of experience, never seen where removing the food factory of foliage has helped the fruit. And when your plant has set fruit, then consider lightly pruning unruly branches and always pick off suckers. But leave a good amount of leaves to feed the plant all that great sunshine that tomatoes love. When planting tomatoes, it's important to know that all those fine hair-like structures on the stalk will convert to roots if buried, and you want a good root structure. So I plant mine by pruning off all but the top 4 to 6 inches of the plant and bury them deep. And if only the top 2 or 3 leaf sets are poking out, you're fine. Now, the plant will benefit from a really strong root set and take off when it really starts growing. Also, try to never get the leaves wet by watering from the top. And in some cases, the leaves will have to get wet, but you really should avoid it if you can. Always water from the base. And when the leaves are frequently wet, they are more easily susceptible to fungus or mold. You want to water consistently only when temperatures are cool at sunrise or after the sunset to prevent your tomatoes from cracking or splitting. Finally, understand what the tomato hornworm looks like, what the telltale signs of it are, and how to spot it. That could be a whole video in and of itself, but the reason I mention here is that it can easily decimate your plants. At least once per season, I spray my plants with the natural bacteria commonly called BT that will take care of these ugly garden pests. Peppers, sweet and hot. Peppers need warm soil and full sun. They love zones 8 through 13, but even in 6A through 7, they're going to produce well if you start with nursery plants. Now, peppers love the heat, so if it's still chilly where you're at, you want to wait another week. From jalapenos to bells to rare heirlooms, May is a time to get them in the ground in zones 8 and higher. You want to water deeply at the base, but infrequently to avoid blossom end rot. Peppers, they do best with a combination of deep watering and maintaining even moisture levels. You want to stake them early to support heavy fruit. Now, peppers are in their prime planting time in my area, so I'm putting in about 12.5 plants. And you may favor the hot ones, but I don't. So my plants are bell, pepper, and heirloom varieties. Now, when planting, you want to do the research or read the accompanying card to allow for a full pepper bush to grow with adequate spacing between them. Despite what you might read or see on the internet, never top your pepper plants by removing the top 6 to 8 inches above a leaf node. Interfering with the growth in this way can interfere with overall plant growth, easily making your plant more susceptible to disease and slow down production. Trust that the plant will do its own thing and prune only the lower leaves to increase air circulation and unruly offshoot branches. You want to trim suckers, which are the small shoots that appear between the main stem and a branch. Onions, bunching and bulb. Onions do best when started as small sets, which are small dormant onion bulbs or nursery plugs at this time of the year. Now you can grow bunching onions in nearly every zone, while bulbing varieties, they need a longer season, ideal for zones 7 through 10 if you're planting now. Wait until the end of the month if in zones lower than 7. Now because they take up so little space and only require a few inches between plants and actually repel some garden pests like aphids and beetles because of their sulfur compounds, I'm planting long rows of them down the edges of my planters. Onions really are a must-have in your garden. You're not going to get a ton of calories or nutrition, but they're going to dry excellently in a dehydrator, and you can use them in your foods for the rest of the year. Now, in years where I have a large harvest, I usually make a massive pot of French onion soup, which will freeze dry or can well for eating throughout the year. Now, the next three plants are often grown together. The Native Americans call them the three sisters. We're going to take it even a step further by also planting a useful companion flower with them. I'm going to go into a lot more detail about this in our Suburban Preppers Homestead course, which I'll link to in the description and comment section below. And these plants are corn, squash, and beans. For now, you can either do your own research on how to companion plant them together or consider taking our Suburban Preppers Homestead course, which we will go into a lot more detail there. Corn. Corn is a heat-loving, nutrient-hungry crop that grows best in rich soil and full sun. And it doesn't always transplant well, so it always is best to start corn directly from seeds. Those nursery starters, they might look tempting, but they're usually a waste of money. Now, a corn seed will outgrow a transplant in no time, and you're going to avoid the shock of moving it. Now, each seed should be planted about 1 to about 1.5 inches deep, ideally sowing 2 seeds per spot to ensure germination. And once the seedlings come up, thin to the strongest plant. You want to space them 8 to 12 inches apart within the row and keep 24 inches between rows to give the stalks room to grow and allow air to circulate. The real key to corn, though, is how you lay it out. Corn relies on wind for pollination, so planting it in a tight block, not long single rows, makes all the difference. A square or rectangular cluster allows the pollen from the tassels to fall onto the silks of nearby plants from all sides. And that's how you get fully developed ears. In my garden, I'm planting 5-foot by 5-foot blocks using staggered rows to make the most of the space while ensuring solid pollination. If you're gardening in zones 6A through 11, May is a great time to get your corn in the ground and growing. Squash, zucchini, yellow, winter, gourds. Squash, it's a workhorse. It thrives in warm soil and germinates fast. Zucchini and yellow squash are perfect for now, and even winter squash like butternut or acorn can go in if you have a long growing season. Zone 7+, and ample room for them to spread out. Now, if you get starters from the nursery, you want to avoid ones with fruit or flowers already, as you want them much larger before they start setting fruit. Mine are just 4 to 6 inches with no flowers. And squash grows so well that it easily starts from seed as well. So I'll be planting both starters and seeds in my garden. Because the aptly named squash beetle is the #1 pest for these plants, I'm going to also add marigolds to my three sisters companion planting. Their strong scent deters squash beetles and other harmful insects. Additionally, I'm going to ensure that each plant has plenty of space to grow, as overcrowding can make it harder to spot early signs of infestation. Now, this spacing is especially important in zones 8+, where squash vines, borers, they pose a serious threat. Keeping an eye out for these pests will help protect my squash from damage and ensure a healthier harvest. I'm also going to intersperse my squash plants between my blocks of corn. I'll also plant marigold seeds around the squash plants to act as a natural deterrent to the pests that will try to eat my squash before I harvest it. Now, to detect an infestation, I'm going to watch for wilting vines, small holes at the base of the stems, and sawdust-like frass, which are clear signs that squash vine borers have burrowed into the plant. Beans and peas, bush and pole. Beans and peas, they love May's warmth. Bush beans are quick producers, and pole beans give you a vertical option with a longer harvest window. Peas also come in bush and vine varieties. Direct seed them in zone 6A and up and watch them take off. You want to rotate location yearly to prevent soil-borne diseases and use trellises early for pole types. I'm going to plant my pole varieties alongside my corn to complement the three sisters companion planting. Like squash, beans and peas, they grow so well once they take that it's kind of a waste of money to buy them as starter plants. I don't think you gain any time to harvest by doing so, as a plant needs to adjust to its new growing area. Plus, there's something immensely satisfying about putting a hard bean or pea in the ground and watching it grow into a prolific and abundant plant. It's almost magical to watch the beanstalk take off overnight. It's quite literally the thing of fairy tales. I'm going to plant some of the pole varieties at the base of my corn, and these stalks will act as a pole to allow the beans and peas to vine up naturally. It's said that beans and peas fix nitrogen into the soil, but this is actually a bit of a myth. They do pull a sizable amount of nitrogen from the air, and they're going to fix it in their green vines and leaves, so you're going to want to add the plant matter at the end of the season into your compost bin to actually make use of the high nitrogen levels. The nitrogen fixing benefit comes after decomposition, not during the plant's growth. That they're pushing nitrogen from the plant directly into the soil is the myth here. Okra. Okra is made for heat. It germinates slowly in cooler soil, so wait until you're firmly above 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Best suited for zone 7 and warmer, where the pods grow fast once they take off. And for most varieties, harvest pods small, 2 to 4 inches, for best flavor and continual production. Okra is going to favor more hot and humid conditions, so I'm going to need to make sure that I consistently water in my drier, high desert climate. Now, I have struggled in the past in my more desert climate, but it's a great source of calcium, potassium, and vitamin C's and A that I really wanted to work here. Plus, the versatility of okra to cook, dry, and even pickle makes it a great choice for your garden. Sunflowers. Plant these as seeds directly into the ground. They're tough, they're fast, and they're pollinator magnets. Whether you're growing for seeds, shade, or beauty, May is a perfect time for planting in zone 6A through 13. Taller varieties, they make great living trellises for cucumbers or pole beans, so I will also grow these on the corners of my corn blocks and on the far eastern edge of my long vertical planters. If you intend to eat the seeds, the trick with sunflowers is to get them before the birds and other critters get them. When you think they're ready to be picked, take a sample, and if you're right, don't go to bed that night without picking them. Something about sunflowers, if you do go to sleep on ripe sunflower heads, something will pick them clean by the morning. Eggplant. Eggplants thrive in consistent heat and full sun. They are best started as starters unless you're in zones 10 through 13. Now, these plants are heavy feeders and do great in raised beds with compost-rich soil. Stake or cage early and pick fruits regularly to encourage more growth. And if you're looking for calories, eggplants won't help you. 1 cup has less than 25 calories. They do, however, have a decent amount of potassium, magnesium, and antioxidants. They also dehydrate well for later use. Eggplants are often overlooked in U.S. gardens, but it's very versatile, grilled, roasted, and stir-fried. I just made an eggplant parmigiana that the whole family raved about. I'll link to that recipe in the comments and description section below. Strawberries. Strawberries are a rewarding and resilient addition to any garden, thriving in zone 6 and above when planted in May. Now, some varieties can be found that are better for lower zones, so pick a local variety for your garden. And while technically perennials, planting ever-bearing varieties now allows for a small harvest this season and a significantly larger one next spring. You want to choose June-bearing for a single large crop, ever-bearing for multiple smaller harvests, or day-neutral for continuous production throughout the growing season. For optimal growth, plant in full sun with well-draining, nutrient-rich soil, spacing them 12 to 18 inches apart to improve air circulation and to reduce disease. Mulch heavily to retain moisture and keep fruit clean while maintaining consistent watering of 1 to 2 inches per week. You want to protect against pests like birds and slugs using netting or natural barriers, and pinch early blooms to encourage stronger roots and runners. Whether planted in raised beds, containers, or traditional rows, strawberries will reward careful attention with sweet, homegrown harvests for years to come. Remember, each zone has its own quirks. In zones 6 through 7, you're still dodging frost and waiting for full warmth. In zones 9 through 13, you're already thinking about shade and water retention. Adapt your planting style to your climate and use local nurseries or cooperative extensions for microclimate tips. Your local nursery has taken some of the variety guesswork out of your decision making. They're going to carry plants that work best in your zone. And if they have them, you're probably somewhere in your growing season. If you're unsure, pick a few of the crops that we covered and try them out, and adjust based on what really thrives in your space. I'm going to link to the plants that we discussed in this video in the comments and description section below. For more detailed planning and care instructions, you might want to consider taking our Suburban Preppers Homestead course, which I'll also link to down below. In the course, we cover that information and a lot more about how you can convert your own backyard into a self-sufficient oasis. As always, stay safe out there.